What's the deal with mortal levels? Hey guys, MasakoX here. Now the Tournament of Power has been pretty well covered, and not just on my channel, but on many others. However, one of the biggest things about the Tournament of Power, pretty much one of the things that actually set it in motion, has really barely been touched upon, even though I've alluded to it many times, and now is the moment we actually get to cover it in detail. It's been a long time coming. Without it, we pretty much wouldn't have a reason for a Tournament of Power other than just the Omni Kings just wanted it. And that's not really a really good bedrock for a story. I'm talking about, of course, the mortal level. Yeah, that thing. I bet most of you have probably forgotten about mortal levels at this point, haven't you? Well, I don't really blame you, honestly. It's been a while since they've been mentioned. In short, it's basically another measuring system. Masako! Another means of measuring people in Dragon Ball which absolutely makes no sense in the grand scheme of things? Nah, what a ridiculous idea! Let's get an actual more detailed definition from the Dragon Ball wiki. It is a measuring between the development of all the mortals existing in a universe, and because of this, it is important to note that a universe with a higher level does not necessarily possess stronger fighters, and vice versa, just a higher average. It is directly related to the effectiveness of the jobs of the Supreme Kais and the Gods of Destruction, allowing and promoting the creation and development of adequate civilizations and elimination of inadequate ones. Yeah, sure, the basic premise is sound, but when you get into the intricacies of things, how do you define the mortal level? What makes a civilization inadequate and one adequate? There are so many variables going around that differ from universe to universe. One set of rules does not equate to another realm. You can't just make a standardization right now after billions of years. Would the likes of Zeno really come up with something that intricate and just require so much mathematics? Yeah, I don't think so. This whole system was probably set up long before Zeno came along, or it was probably set up most likely by the Grand Priest himself, and Zeno's just taking all the credit. Also important to note is that we haven't seen the conversation about the mortal levels and the universal destruction dealie in the anime. For that, we have to look to the manga. There, the two Omni Kings claim that there wasn't really much of a necessity for so many universes at the same time existing in one plane of reality. So as a result, they decided to get rid of a few. And for the intricacies of that plan, they turned to the good old GP for an idea to actually get the ball rolling. So the GP managed to find out exactly how all the universes are doing. The GP replies that currently, Universe 1 is the best actual functioning universe in the entire Omniverse. And then it goes to Universe 12, which has recently seen a sudden growth and development in the last few millennia. The rest of the universes have either leveled off in terms of their improvement, they have not really shown any meaningful growth at all, or they're actually showing some warning signs that their performances are actually going downwards. After hearing all of that, which probably would have taken the best part of, I don't know, 2 minutes, the Zenos just go like, "Oh no, it's all too much to comprehend, there are too many universes to think about." Okay, Zeno, quick question. Instead of playing games all the time, shouldn't you actually be consciously aware of what's going on in all of the universes? It's kind of your job. It shouldn't always be up to the GP to do the work for you. Well, it's a good thing that the Grand Priest is really good at his job, or else they'd really be in a lot of trouble. One thing we can take away from this conversation in the manga is that the two Zenos are definitely not all that bright. They're not particularly well versed in the grading system that they claim to have devised. Let's actually take a look at the rankings of all 12 universes based on their mortal level. From what we can glean, the mortal level system is kind of like a litmus test. In short, if your score is higher than 7, you get to live. If it's lower than 7, well, I hope you had a good run. Currently, the universes that are exempt from erasure are, in that actual particular order, universes 1, 12, 5, and 8. Their gods of destruction, Iwan, Jin, Arak, and then Likir, get to swan about the Tournament of Power, just thinking, "Oh, our universes are so great, we get to see all the weaker universes fight amongst themselves." They have to get their hands dirty in helping fix the arena, but that's particularly peanuts in comparison to fight for their lives. They can watch all the other universes squabbling for a place at the table with them. The rest of the order proceeds thusly. Universes 11, 2, 3, 10, 4, 6, 7, and 9. Here's something worth noting here. In all of this chart, do you notice a pattern? Most of the actual twin universes are right next to each other in the chart. The only ones that don't follow this trend are universes 4 and 9. None of the other pairs are like that. Do I sniff a conspiracy here? Now let's make one thing absolutely clear here. Like I talked about in the quote earlier, a mortal level doesn't necessarily constitute just that universe has very strong fighters. There are so many variables to consider here. It's all about prosperity, how many planets there are, how well every single planet and realm actually functions, whether it's actually peaceful. The list goes on. Strength is a very significant factor, it's just not the only factor. Civility is right up there because you really need to have a strong civilization in order to breed strong fighters, so remember that. Also, here's something even odder. Why is Universe 10 so high on the list? They are actually in 8th position, right in the midfield pack, but in the actual tournament itself, they did not perform like a mid-tier universe. I mean, yeah, okay, we like Goasu and all, but that doesn't really constitute Universe 10 getting to live. And as we saw with the Barbarians in the Goku Black arc, I don't think universes and civilizations like that are really going to evolve all that much in all that millennia, because we saw years and years pass, and they barely changed. Goasu's actual ethos was just to sit back and observe and do nothing. Kind of reminds me of someone. And okay, this may be just one of many planets in Universe 10, but GP, how do you define development exactly? I'm just gonna throw that one out there. Type what you think development means in terms of the mortal level down in the comments. Then there's Universe 11. They're pretty high on the list, narrowly missing out on the score of 7 that would have actually made them exempt from erasure and put Universe 8 in the firing line. Yeah, they're that high, but they still have villains in Universe 11 that give Dispo a run for his money. And have you seen Dispo? He's right up there with Toppo. He's a very strong guy. He's part of the A-team. And the fact that the universe actually needs the Pride Troopers a lot, have you seen how often they're required? They barely get a break. It's proof positive that their universe is still riddled with conflict, and it's just not a peaceful place to be, even though the Pride Troopers are there to clean things up, but they seem to be the only people there. They are also in possession of a Jiren, which I can imagine has actually contributed to the strength factor of the mortal level score quite considerably. After all, his very existence is a major source of gossip over on GodTube. Now let's turn our attention back to our own home turf, Universe 7. Yes, we know all about the infamous 28 planets dealy. I remember it all too well. But that was all down to Frieza and Majin Buu causing havoc for millennia while Beerus was sleeping on the job. But wait, we haven't actually taken into consideration the power of Frieza's army. Did our heroes, mostly Goku, inadvertently lower the mortal level of Universe 7 by taking out Frieza's forces? Because I can imagine they were a very big contribution to their score. If the Frieza army was truly that bad, then their erasure from existence would have actually made the mortal level go up because the universe would be more prosperous and peaceful, right? They would have been halting prosperity and development for decades, so them gone would have made things better, surely. Well, turns out that might not have been the case. Another thing we know is that the Zenos are currently quite bored, and they love to watch a very good fight. A perfect and peaceful world to them would be very boring. He'd wish to rock the boat. And yes, I know that I've raged so many times about there only being 28 planets in Universe 7, but I've actually just got to step back and take a look at the bigger picture for a second. 28 decently developed planets would actually be far better than 100 planets which are ravaged with conflict. Surely that would be better than just having loads of planets riddled with robots just shouting "Buddha" all the time, right? And speaking of robots, do robots actually contribute to the mortal level at all? Because they're not mortal. Universe 3 is unusually high in the rankings. They are in 7th place, and yet most of their fighters kinda suck. Never forget how bad Nigrishi and Narirama performed, even though they were hyped up so much. And this is despite the fact that they would actually have access to some of the best weaponry in all of the Omniverse. They could just build it and make it happen, and yet they didn't. And of course, the mortal level is basically an average of every single factor that you can think under the sun, but when you have a peaceful world, you don't really have the inclination to get that strong. If people feel safe, then they don't need warriors, really. In peacetime, you tend to get a bit soft. We saw that in the 7-year time skip with Gohan, for example. And I think that might have been what happened with Universe 10 when it came to picking their members. They were martial artists, sure, and they might have been pretty strong, But were they warriors though? Because for things like karate, the whole principle is that you don't have to use it, you just know it, so it's self-defense, not offense. They were basically just a bunch of Mr. Satans. And while we do absolutely adore our Lord and Savior, he's not a warrior. He's an icon, yes, but if he can avoid a fight that isn't in a tournament or in a movie, then he would do that. Now let's turn our attention to Universe 9, what I like to call the Mad Max universe. In Universe 9, I reckon that you have to be really strong and really resilient to survive just one day there. It's much harsher there than in the lavish neon cities that are actually all over the place in Universe 2. There are less people in Universe 9, yes, and they are susceptible to raider attacks, but it's quantity over quality. Averages really don't help you that much if you have millions and millions of weak people against strong raiders. Like I said, there are so many factors to think about, no wonder Zeno couldn't be bothered to do that. Now that I think about it, every single thing that we know about all of the universes don't really add up to actually justifying the mortal level scale. Something just doesn't seem right. So maybe actually that's the key. Maybe Toyotaro and Toriyama and the Toei writing staff have actually been throwing us for a loop, messing with our heads because the fans know all about power levels and statistics and numbers, and they just subverted that thinking, just messed around with our minds. Or maybe, quite possibly, there is an in-universe explanation. Maybe the Grand Priest is making stuff up instead of Toyotaro. Maybe the Grand Priest is trying to make a point for the 4 universes that are deemed safe. We saw before the Tournament of Power began that the Grand Priest doesn't really respect the gods of destruction from those universes, you know, Arak, Jin, Likir, Iwan. He kind of treated them like trash. And if you do indeed look at this ranking system the other way around, it makes more sense. Universe 9 would be at the top of the ranking system because theirs is just a harsh existence, with Universe 9 being a hell in the Omniverse where only the strongest survive. Then there's Universe 7 overcoming the likes of Majin Buu and Frieza. Then you got the pretty stable places like Universe 6 and 4. Then there's Universe 10, which is slowly starting to crumble. Then there's Universe 3 that became heavily reliant on machines. Then there's Universe 2, which has become self-obsessed and fickle. Remember how much Ribrianne wants to become the goddess of love? Pretty selfish, remember? Then there's Universe 11, which is only protected by a very small peacekeeping force. Maybe this ranking system is a way of the Grand Priest telling us what he thinks of the universes if you turn it the other way around. He is proud of the likes of Universe 9 and 7 and 6 for actually overcoming feats of obstacles. Because remember in episode 67, he said exactly how much he loves Universe 7 because of all the stuff they've had to conquer. He's proud of them. He doesn't really think much of Universe 11 and all the other universes that are exempt. He kind of treats them like garbage because they're just sitting pretty. Maybe he's going to teach them a lesson near the end of the arc. Maybe it's those universes that are going to get erased. Subversion. This is all just conjecture, and I really hope that this conjecture can be addressed in the future. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and we hope we can safely say that Shin and Beerus may not be all that bad at their jobs at the end of the day. Trust me, this is a very big pill for me to swallow. So what do you guys think? Did this clear things up for you? Has this just left you with even more questions to think about? Leave a comment below, and let's get this discussion going. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Until the next one, be sure to like and subscribe. Catch you later!